Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. Feng Zunja and the rest were immediately stunned upon hearing Zi Yang's words. They saw the docile manner of the stone-swallowing ant queen that was rumored to be incomparably fierce, and their hearts seemed to have understood something. Their eyes looked at Zi Yang in a strange manner before softly speaking, "The old me really has terrible eyesight. It is unexpected that this little girl is also someone who hides her skills." Xiao Yan smiled. He was much better as compared to the shock that Feng Zunja and the others face. Zi Yang's identity was something that he was already clearly aware of. The ancient void dragon was known to reign supreme amongst all beasts. The pressure that originated from the bloodlines did indeed possess a kind of unknown deterrence towards these low-rank magical beasts. Due to Zi Yang, the originally tensed atmosphere had suddenly become relaxed. Xiao Yang's body moved and he appeared a short distance from Zi Yang. His eyes curiously observed the so-called stone-swallowing ant queen. The ant queen was dark golden colored. There were 8 onion skin-like wings on its back. Its enormous mouth had serrated sharp teeth that caused one to feel a chillness in one's heart. If one was bitten by this thing, it was likely that he would end up with quite a miserable fate. While Xiao Yang was observing this stone-swallowing ant queen, the latter also appeared to have sensed him. Its 8 wings were flapped slightly as it revealed its ferocious large mouth that was covered with sharp teeth towards Xiao Yang. "There is no need to be afraid, no need to be afraid," Zi Yang's small hand patted the ant queen. Only then did the latter felt a little more secured. However, those eyes of it still contained a fierce glint when looking towards Xiao Yang. This kind of magical beast was extremely fierce and brutal. If it was not because it was suppressed by Zi Yang's dragon might, it was likely that it would have become violent and injure someone. This thing knows where the Hall of Souls is located. Feng Zunja also floated over. He spoke with some joy after glancing at the ant queen. "Yes." Zi Yang nodded. After which, she glanced at Xiao Yang and said, "Should we get moving now?" Xiao Yang mused for a moment. He exchanged glances with Feng Zunja before nodding. Speed was valued in battle. They had already roamed this forest for a period of time. If they continued to stop, they would sooner or later be discovered by those from the Hall of Souls. "Follow me." Zi Yang began moving after seeing this situation. She took the lead in rushing towards the mountain range that was permeated by cold fog. Xiao Yang and the others hurriedly followed from behind. This time around, the speed of Xiao Yang's group had clearly been raised significantly with the ant queen leading them. Moreover, their attention need not be diverted to find their path. Hence, after less than half an hour, they had ventured deep into the mountain belly. Zi Yang, who was leading the way through the forest that was covered by cold fog in front, suddenly stopped. She indicated for Xiao Yang's group not to make any noise. Although Xiao Yang's group felt some uncertainty when they saw this, they still remained quiet as they were told. Their eyes cautiously swept around them. After everyone became quiet, the ant queen on Zi Yang's back suddenly emitted a slight strange sonic wave. After which, this sonic wave spread like a ripple. A few seconds after this sonic wave was emitted, Xiao Yang's group discovered numerous black figures falling down from the surrounding cold fog. After which, they landed on the shriveled yellow grass. Their bodies were covered with fist-sized black-colored ants. These ants firmly bite on their throats, completely blocking their voices. The eyes of the entire group looked over, only to be surprised to discover that these black figures were actually palm-sized small black birds. The size of these birds were very small, and they were hidden within the cold fog. Even with Xiao Yang's perception, he had never discovered them. These are the eyes of the Hall of Souls. As long as there is any activity, they will use sound waves to transmit informations. If we do not completely eliminate them, our trail will be captured by the Hall of Souls. Zi Yang explained to Xiao Yang's group. Xiao Yang and the rest involuntarily emitted some cold sweat when they heard this. This Hall of Souls was indeed strange. They had actually groomed these small things to be their eyes. How can an ordinary person expect this? If it was not because of the ant queen leading them this time around, it was likely that the Hall of Souls would have already set a trap for them to jump into by the time they reached the branch hall. The communication birds nearby has already been quietly removed by the stone-swallowing demon ants. There is no need to be worried. Additionally, the Hall of Souls is a short distance away. All of you should be careful, Yang spoke softly. The hearts of Xiao Yan's group tensed upon hearing her words. Qi began to quietly circulate within their bodies as they prepared to handle all sudden situations anytime. After finishing off these hidden eyes of the Hall of Souls, Yang once again led the way. They continued to transverse through the mountain range in this manner for around 10 minutes or so before she finally came to a stop. After which, she sighed softly and whispered, "We have arrived." Xiao Yang's footsteps suddenly became faster when he heard this. Only then did he discover that the fog here had actually become much thinner for some unknown reason. The spot where they were currently located was an extremely tall and steep slope. At the end of this slope was a large valley with its four sides facing the mountains. The interior of the valley was 1,000 feet large black hole. It was just like a prostrating prehistoric fierce beast that was spreading a terrifying aura that chilled one's heart within the darkness. This is the Hall of Souls her. Xiao Yang involuntarily inhaled a breath of cool air as he looked at the incomparably large building within the valley. This Hall of Souls was actually able to create such a big thing within this deep secluded mountain forest. They were indeed quite powerful. Feng Zunja and the rest also walked over from behind Xiao Yang. They glanced at the large black hole within the valley and an excitement surged into their eyes. At the same time, some seriousness also appeared in them. Next, it would be the time where they truly battle it out. Wait, a spatial barrier has been placed in this place. Xiao Yang gradually recovered his calmness. Suddenly he discovered that the sky above the valley a short distance away had some distortion. He immediately frowned and softly said, "Leave the spatial barrier to me. I am able to tear it open without alerting those inside," Yang said. "Old Feng, can you sense just how many elite Dozuns are present inside this large hall?" Xiao Yang nodded slightly before turning his head and asking Feng Zunja. Feng Zunja shut his eyes. A moment later, he opened them and softly said, "The information is right. I sense 5 hidden auras. Clearly, they are all Dozun class experts. I have also sensed more than 10 Dozongs. There are also quite a number of even weaker auras." Xiao Yang's heart quietly sighed in relief upon hearing this. 5 Dozuns. This lineup might be extremely powerful, but they were at the very least able to deal with it. When the spatial barrier is opened, we will first release some stone-swallowing demon, and into it, and bite all those fellows to death. The excited manner of Yang by the side caused Xiao Yang and the rest to become speechless. She was really a little monster. 5 Dozuns. The 4 of us can barely block them. Xiao Yang shall take the opportunity to enter the Hall of Souls and find Yao Chen. Take him away immediately after you find him. We cannot stay for long. No one can guarantee whether the Hall of Souls will have any swift reinforcements. Feng Zunja spoke in a deep voice. You will not be only able to barely block them once you include this. Xiao Yang smiled. He flicked his finger and the sky demon puppet appeared beside him. Its dark golden body was not easily discovered under the cover of the fog. This is a Dozun class puppet. Feng Zunja and Tai Jian Zunja had a change in their expressions when they saw the sky demon puppet. Their hearts were greatly shaken. It was difficult to imagine that the strength around Xiao Yang had actually become this great during this 1 year plus time. Alright, with this puppet, we will be able to completely delay the 5 Dozuns from the Hall of Souls. The matter of finding Yao Chen will be left to you. Xiao Yang's expression was grave as he nodded. After which, he lifted his chin towards Yang. The latter nodded knowingly. She took 2 steps forward. A purple light lingered over her finger as she gently pressed it on the distorted space, cutting a 10 feet large spacious door. She pushed with her hand and the space quietly turned into nothingness. An invisible spatial door appeared in front of Xiao Yang's group eyes. Go. The Ant Queen on Yang's shoulders once again emitted a strange sonic wave after the spatial door was opened. Immediately, Xiao Yang's group heard the shuffling sound being transmitted over. After which, the skin on their heads became numb as they saw densely packed black and swarm over from the forest like floodwaters. Finally, they surged past Xiao Yang's group and rushed into the spatial door. Under the cover of the faint cold fog, this wave of black ants followed the slope and quickly rushed towards the large black hole within the valley. Attack. Regardless of how frightening the Hall of Souls is, we will enact a good show of snatching food from a tiger's mouth this time around. Xiao Yang laughed when he saw the ant tide surging into the valley. He suddenly stood up. A sharp aura slowly spread from within his body. After which, he took the lead to stride into the spatial barrier. The rescue operation that he had prepared for so many years had finally truly begun at this moment. There was an enormous square deep within the large black hall. 1,000 feet large black stone pillars stood on the square while appearing to support the sky. The stone pillar was covered with countless number of strange symbols. Numerous dark black chains were extended from the stone pillars. They crossed and outlined the mid-air of the square. The end of these metal chains had numerous weak light clusters suspended over them. Within them were surprisingly some illusory spiritual bodies with painful expressions. The middle territory of this square was a platform that was around 100 feet from the ground. The surroundings of the platform had 4 enormous stone pillars. 4 tight thick black chains meandered like pythons. The end of the 4 chains was an extremely intense light cluster. There was an elderly soul who was seated with his eyes shut within the light cluster. From the looks of it, he was surprisingly Yao Lao, who had fallen into the hands of the Hall of Souls. At this moment, 4 strange black chains lingered over the limbs of Yao Lao like a vine. It caused him to be unable to move even a little. A deathly silence and strangeness covered this entire square. This place was completely filled with a dark denseness and deathly scent. This silence continued for a period of time, before Yao Lao on the platform suddenly opened his tightly shut eyes. At this moment, a trace of extremely familiar aura had appeared within his senses. The appearance of this aura directly caused Yao Lao to be stunned. A moment later, he inhaled a deep breath of air and slowly raised his head. Those pair of eyes that had been dry for a long time had some moisture surging it at this moment. When he had left back then, this aura was still that of a tender young man who required his protection. Now, however, this aura had already grown to such an extent. The young eagleback then had finally soared to the sky at this moment. A slight quiet shuffling sound appeared within the quiet mountain valley. A black torrent rolled down the slope. The speed of the flow was extremely rapid. Within less than half a minute, it had already approached the surroundings of the enormous hall that sat within the mountain valley. One could vaguely see some seated black figures on some stone pillars around the large black hall. These figures lingered within the black fog. A dense dark aura spread as it swallowed and spat. As the torrent swiftly approached, a human figure that was completely wrapped within a black fog suddenly let out a shocked exclamation. The black fog rippled and revealed a somewhat pale face. He frowned and looked at the dark black things, which were spreading like black water a short distance away. He was initially startled before a horror surged into his eyes. He hurriedly stood up and cried out sternly, "Be careful. It's the stone-swallowing demon ants. How did these things get in here?" The stern cry that suddenly sounded directly broke the silence of the valley. Over a dozen black fog figures hurriedly got up. Their expressions were stunned as they looked at the black ant tide that swiftly surged over. "Sound the warning." A black figure cried out in a deep voice. Soon after, a sharp sonic wave was emitted from his mouth. After which, it was swiftly transmitted into the large hall that appeared like a giant prehistoric beast. This warning that had just been emitted when quite a number of black figures continuously rushed out from the huge hall. Their expressions changed when they saw the ant tide that came from all directions. "Everyone, we'll attack together and eliminate all of these things. Do not interrupt the rest of the honorable elders." A black-clothed person, who appeared to have quite a high position, frowned and looked at the ant tide below. After which, he cried out in a deep voice. "Understood, Protector Liu." The 100 black figures that had gathered below responded in unison after hearing this. Immediately, numerous strange black fog surged out from their bodies. After which, they swiftly spread towards the ant tide. A white fog erupted from the body of many stone-swallowing demon ants when they made contact. Immediately, it was swiftly eroded by the black fog. However, the numbers in the ant tide was really too terrifying. Even though the black fog was dense, it was still difficult to block the ants' attacking momentum. The frown of the black-clothed person in the sky, who was called Protector Liu, became even tightly. This valley had the spatial barrier placed by the honorable elders. How could these things barge in? What happened? Why is there such a great activity? While Protector Liu was frowning, a couple of black figures came rushing out from within the large hall. They had just posed the question when they saw the stone-swallowing demon ants surging over from all directions. Their expressions immediately changed. Stone-swallowing demon ants. How did they barge in? A dark and solemn-looking man knitted his brows. His eyes suddenly swept over this valley, and an uneasiness suddenly rose in his heart. He cried in a deep voice, "Something's wrong, everyone be." Bang! He had yet to finish speaking, when the space around him suddenly became distorted. Immediately, a ruthlessly flame formed an invisible handprint that forcefully crushed him into a cluster of meat. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Within an instant, a person had turned into a cluster of blurry pile of meat. Those couple of Hall of Souls protectors recovered only a moment later from such a sudden change. A shocked expression immediately surged onto their faces. Sharp scream resounded within the valley. A screech had just sounded when a sharp sword aura suddenly rushed down from the sky. After which, they shot through the two Hall of Souls protectors with lightning-like speed and brought about a sharp scream. The sword aura also slashed through some stone pillars outside of the large hall. Bang! The sharp sword aura had just fell when the space became slightly distorted. Immediately, a couple of figures slowly surfaced in front of the many experts from the Hall of Souls. After which, a vast and mighty aura erupted without being held back at this moment. Bang! 4 Dozan experts erupted at the same time. The aura directly caused sand and stone to fly within the valley. A powerful pressure spread from the sky and caused the expressions of some experts from the Hall of Souls to change drastically. "Ha ha, you bastards from the Hall of Souls. It is time you pay your debt today." A loud laughter sounded in the sky. Immediately, a couple of vast and mighty wind rushed down from the sky. After which, it forcefully slammed over a dozen experts from the Hall of Souls into the soil. The terrifying force had destroyed all of them at that instant until they scattered to the winds. "Ha ha, charge." A couple of figures rushed down from the sky. They were just like tigers entering a sheep herd. Even those protectors, who usually acted high and mighty, could only hurriedly withdraw in shock in the face of this wolf and tiger-like fierce group. They had never expected that there would actually be someone bold enough to take the initiative in attacking their Hall of Souls. "You dare cause trouble in my Hall of Souls? Are you seeking death?" The continuously screech that resounded over the valley had finally attracted the attention of the honorable elders within the hall. Immediately, a furious roar sounded. Soon after, 5 figures, who were covered with killing aura, rushed out from within the large hall. Their eyes swept over the place before finally pausing on Xiao Yan. "Xiao Yan, you haven't died." Xiao Yan involuntarily raised his head upon hearing this familiar voice. He looked at the 5 figures in the sky. Purple-brown flames surged out from his hand and he grabbed an expert from the Hall of Souls before burning him into nothingness. After which, he laughed faintly, "Old demon Mujiyu, it is unexpected that you are also here. You have come for Yao Chen, right? It must be said that the courage of your group is really boundaryless. You actually dare to snatch someone from my Hall of Souls. This is the first time the old me has met with such a thing after becoming an honorable elder." A black-clothed person lifted the doping above his head and spoke in a dark voice. From the looks of his appearance, he was old Mujiyu. TSK, it is unexpected that there is a familiar person. Fengzunja, you have really not given up. A black-clothed Dozan suddenly laughed in a dark and cold manner beside old Mujiyu. Fengzunja laughed faintly upon hearing this. He glanced at the anti-tide that had already surged into the large hall before turning his head to Xiao Yang and said, "Go in and find Yao Chen. We will delay them." "Yes." Xiao Yang nodded. His body moved and he rushed into the large hall. "You actually dare randomly charge around my Hall of Souls. You are seeking death." The 5 Dozans from the Hall of Souls in the sky immediately cried out coldly upon seeing this. A Dozan directly tossed out a vast and mighty black fog. This fog was just like a black snake that whizzed through the sky and rushed towards Xiao Yang. "Go." Fengzunja's figure surfaced beside Xiao Yang. He clenched his hand and a wild wind suddenly appeared. After which, it forcefully shattered the majestic black fog. He cried out in a deep voice. "Today, the few of us shall see whether your group has this qualification." The couple of Dozans laughed angrily. After which, they rushed down swiftly. One of them was separated from the others and he collided with Fengzunja while carrying a sharp killing aura all over his body. Both parties immediately erupted into a fiery hot battle. Xiao Yang's body moved upon seeing this. After which, he rushed down the mid-air. His body transformed into a black line that swiftly rushed towards the large hall. Just when it was about to enter the large door, the space in front of them wiggled and an old man in pale purple-colored robes appeared in front of them without any expression. "You are Xiao Yan. Do you still remember this venerable self?" The purple-clothed old man looked at Xiao Yang in an expressionless manner and asked. Xiao Yang narrowed his eyes. He could sense a familiar feeling from the other party. "You are that old bastard who had destroyed my spiritual strength twice." Xiao Yang smiled as he finally remembered. When his spiritual strength had twice arrived at the Hall of Souls after having broken through his class, he was discovered by this old fellow, and was expelled from the hall by the latter. "The old me has underestimated you. Within a short couple of years you have actually trained until the 9-star Dozong level. Unfortunately, however, you have come to the Hall of Soul to snatch someone. It is fated that you will be forever buried here." The expression of the purple-clothed old man turned dark and cold. His voice had just sounded when his sleeve suddenly fluttered. Xiao Yang's footsteps quickly took 2 steps back, and purple-brown flame surged out from his palm. The Do Chi within his body was suddenly spluttered out, without being held back at this moment. Bang! Xiao Yang did not directly withdraw this time around. Sharp palm wind that was accompanied by the purple-brown 3000 lotus heart flame ruthlessly collided with that palm from the purple-clothed Dozun. Frightening wind swept out as the two collided. It shook the surrounding few Hall of Souls guards nearby until they turned into nothingness. That enormous stone pillar also had numerous cracked lines over it. Clatter clatter. Although Xiao Yang had circulated the Do Chi within his body to the maximum, and he even had the 3000 lotus heart flame, he still ended up taking over 10 steps back before stabilizing his body. His brows were knitted. An elite Dozun was indeed strong. Compared with the frown of Xiao Yang, the expression of the purple-clothed Dozun was especially ugly. There was a faint shock within his eyes. When Xiao Yang's spiritual strength had secretly sneaked into the Hall of Souls for the first time back then, all this Dozun needed to do was to think about it, and his spiritual strength had been scattered. On the second time, he needed to reveal himself and attack in order to destroy that spiritual strength. However, on this third time, Xiao Yang was actually able to rely on his own Dozong strength to fight his palm head-on without being injured. This kind of soaring-like transformation caused a faint chillness to involuntarily surge in his heart. No matter how great you are, this place will be the place you die today. Murderous intent surged within the eyes of the purple-clothed Dozun as he inhaled a deep breath of air. Xiao Yang was able to receive one attack by him, but he did not believe that the former would really be able to escape from his hands. This thought flashed across the heart of the purple-clothed Dozun as his body moved. After which, he transformed into a lightning that once again rushed towards Xiao Yang. Just when his body had just moved, a dark golden figure descended from the sky like a metal tower. It landed in front of Xiao Yang and blocked this attack of the purple-clothed Dozun. "Your opponent is not me. It's it." Xiao Yang faced the purple-clothed Dozun and smiled. Silver glow flashed under his feet, as he directly took the opportunity to sneak into the interior of the large hall. The purple-clothed Dozun wanted to block him, but the sky demon puppet in front of him caused him to be afraid of being distracted. Immediately, he cried out furiously. "Protectors of the Hall of Souls, stop that brat. I don't care if he's dead or alive." Xiao Yang appeared as though he did not hear the furious roar of the purple-clothed Dozun. His body transformed into a blurry black line that rushed towards the large hall in a lightning-like manner. Within a couple of flashes, he had charged into the main door and disappeared within the corridor. The face of the purple-clothed Dozun twitched upon seeing this. He was just about to let out a furious cry, when the fierce fist wind that head his way forced him to change his expression and hurriedly receive it. Even he felt a kind of pressure in the face of this dark gold puppet. If he was careless, it was likely that he would be in some danger today. This thought flashed across the heart of the purple-clothed Dozun as the vast and mighty Do Chi surged within him. Dark black metal chains rolled out from his sleeves. After which, it whizzed and tore through the sky before ruthlessly struck towards the sky demon puppet. While a soul-stirring big battle had erupted outside of the Hall of Souls, Xiao Yang became just like a breeze as he charged into the interior of the hall. Before the experts from the Hall of Souls along the way could attack, they were already shaken by the powerful force until they spit out blood and withdraw. In an instant, no one actually dared to intervene and stop him. "Rat, you dare to barge around my Hall of Souls? Are you seeking death?" Although this place was only a branch hall of the Hall of Souls, its defensive strength was still not any weaker than some top-tier factions. Xiao Yang's rampage did not last for long before a furious cry resounded. Immediately, 4 figures rushed over from 4 different corners. After which, they stood on the path that Xiao Yang must pass like some metal towers. Black fog permeated the place and traces of unusually vast and powerful aura was present. From the looks of these auras, their 4 people were actually all expert dozongs that had actually reached the level of 6 or 7 stars. Bastard, this protector demands that you halt. A black fog surged from one of the 4 people after they appeared, revealing a sinister elderly face. His eyes stared at the black line rushing over in a dark and dense manner, as he cried out in a cold voice. The 4 people did not say any additional useless words after the cry sounded. They let out an orderly furious roar. Majestic black fog surged out from within their bodies. After which, the black fog gathered together and directly transformed into an enormous black python that was hundreds of feet in size. It roared towards the sky and swung its huge tail, carrying a powerful wind pressure that violently struck towards Xiao Yang. Powerful wind pressure shook the hard ground into powder wherever the black giant python passed. Numerous crack lines rushed past that spot as they spread in a lightning-like fashion. Just 4 protectors alone actually dare to stop me. A cold smile flashed across Xiao Yang's face when he was faced with 4 Hall of Souls protectors, who were quite powerful, stopping him. His forward-charging body did not even pause a little. Purple-brown flames swiftly surged out from within his body. After which, it transformed into an enormous purple-brown fire dragon. The tail of the dragon was swung and Xiao Yang's forward-charging speed suddenly increased. After which, it became just like colliding meteorite and ruthlessly collided with the black giant python. Get lost. Bang. This powerful collision instantly erupted into a soul-shocking explosion. Energy ripples swept out from the point of collision like a storm. Some of the large stone pillars around suddenly cracked apart amidst a cracking sound. Those Hall of Souls guards nearby were also being affected by this frightening energy ripple. After which, their bodies flew backwards like kite, with their string broken amidst a miserable screech. Finally, they heavily smashed onto the dark black walls. They were directly shaken into a cluster of blurry and bloody minced meat amidst a wave of cracking sound. The energy ripple spread and the expressions of the 4 Hall of Souls protector changed. He did not even have the time to withdraw when the energy ripple whizzed over. After which, it violently collided onto their bodies. Boom. The dense black fog over the 4 of them immediately became thin after suffering this kind of heavy blow. After which, their bodies flew backwards. Their bodies only slowly stabilized after having rubbed over the ground for nearly 100 meters. However, they no longer possessed the strength to even stand. Mantis trying to block a cart. The fierce attack forced back the 4 dozongs. After which, Xiao Yang let out a cold laughter. Some fierce glow immediately flashed across his eyes. His finger was flicked and 4 purple-brown flames surged out. Next, it violently smashed onto the 4 Hall of Soul protectors, who were seriously injured. The terrifying temperature of the 3000 Lotus Heart flame caused a miserable cry to be emitted from the 4 of them. Finally, the black fog scattered amidst the earth-shaking miserable screech, revealing 4 somewhat illusory spiritual bodies. You are also spiritual bodies, yet you aid in the harm of your fellow kins. You ought to die. Xiao Yang's tone suddenly became dense as he faced the 4 souls that had terrified faces. He clenched his hand. Vast and mighty spiritual strength surged out from between his brows. 3 spiritual bodies in the mid-air immediately emitted a bang and was shattered into nothingness. Xiao Yang sucked with his hand after using a thunderbolt-like tactic to kill the 3 Hall of Souls protectors. The soul of the final Hall of Soul protector was sucked into his palm. After which, he spoke in a sinister tone, "Where is the place where the souls are imprisoned? You only have 1 chance. Otherwise, your fate will be the same as those 3 earlier." The horror on the face of the Hall of Soul protector grew even denser when he saw the sinister expression that covered Xiao Yang's face. He quietly let out a bitter cry in his heart. Why did he step forward and intercept this fiend? Speak. Xiao Yang's expression vaguely contained a savageness. Feng Zunja and the others were buying time for him outside. He did not have much spare time to waste. In the Lock Soul Hall, that Hall of Souls protector spoke in a terrified manner. Currently, he did not dare to hide anything. Those 3 companions of his earlier had been vaporized by Xiao Yang into nothingness in front of his eyes. That was a true vanquishment. It was impossible to revive them no matter what one did. Tell me the way. Otherwise, die. Xiao Yang's eyes were icy as he spoke. Turn left in front, the Hall of Souls Protector hurried replied upon hearing this. Xiao Yang's feet stomped onto the ground after listening to these words. He once again transformed into a black shadow that rushed towards the deep regions of the large hall in a lightning-like fashion. With this Hall of Souls Protector telling him the way, the subsequent journey was a little more relaxing. However, he was still hindered by many Hall of Souls experts along the way. There were quite a number of Do Zone class experts along the way. However, with Xiao Yang's current strength, it was basically impossible for him to find an opponent under the Do Zone class. Although these people were great in numbers, they were defeated relatively quickly under the incomparably ferocious 3000 Lotus Heart Flame of Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang could be considered to have experienced many bloody battles along the way. Based on his rough estimate, it was likely that the number of Hall of Souls protectors who had died in his hands along this route at least numbered to 10. It was difficult for him to tabulate those who were even weaker. In any case, all it took was a slap and those weaker Hall of Souls guards were directly swallowed by the 3000 Lotus Heart Flame, until not even dregs were left. However, the strength of these protectors were not very strong. The strongest was only around that of a 7-star Do Zone or so. Those stronger were quick to escape. Xiao Yang could kill them if he gave chase, but his main aim was currently to search for Yao Lao. He could not afford to waste time on this. Wherever Xiao Yang passed as he charged forward became a complete mess. Corpse cover the floor. At this moment, Xiao Yang was just like a killing god. A terrifying killing aura spread all over his body. Each time the purple-brown flame surged, it would be accompanied by countless of sharp miserable screams. At this moment, the new heavenly flame that was born after having swallowed the 3000 burning flame had also displayed its terrifying strength. Almost no one could stop his footsteps along the way. Bang! On a spacious corridor, Xiao Yang was expressionlessly inserting a hand covered by the purple-brown flame into the chest of a Hall of Soul Protector. He looked at the latter's body, which was slowly vaporizing. After which, he randomly tossed the body aside as though he was throwing garbage. He glanced at the soul of the protector, which he was grabbing on his left hand, and spoke in an icy voice, "How much further?" "The Lock Soul Hall is at the end of the corridor," the Hall of Souls Protector spoke with a frightened heart. The killing by Xiao Yang along the way had caused a chillness to spread deep within his soul. This terrifying fellow was likely someone that only an honorable elder could deal with. However, all of the honorable elders in the hall were currently being delayed outside. Xiao Yang nodded slightly. His expression became even darker and colder. The heart of the protector from the Hall of Soul felt cold after sensing the change in Xiao Yang's expression. His body suddenly shook and escaped from Xiao Yang's hand. However, before he could even flee for some distance, a hot wind had rushed over from behind him before swallowing him. After doing all these, Xiao Yang finally patted his hand with a cold expression. He had deep hatred towards the members of the Hall of Souls. As long as he thought of those spiritual bodies that these fellows had captured, he would not feel any burden in his heart when he killed these people. Xiao Yang's eyes looked towards the end of the corridor after finishing off this person. There was a dark black metal door at that spot. This door was currently tightly shut. Xiao Yang could vaguely sense the strange aura that was spreading out from behind it. Do Qi was quietly circulated around Xiao Yang's body as he hastened his footsteps a little. After which, he arrived outside of the black door. A chillness surged within his eyes as he waved his sleeves. Purple-brown flame surged out from his sleeves. After which, it heavily collided onto the metal door. Bang! Regardless of how hard the metal door was, it could only directly burst apart under this fierce attack. After which, the scene behind the metal door appeared in Xiao Yang's sight. It was an extremely spacious square. 1,000 feet stone pillar stood on the square, supporting the sky. Black chains spread like a spiderweb. Countless light clusters were suspended at the end of these chains. The interior of the light clusters were filled with illusory spiritual bodies. Although Xiao Yang had already seen this kind of situation twice, he involuntarily inhaled a gentle breath of cool air when he truly observed it from his actual body's point of view. Xiao Yang slowly walked into this square that was permeated with a strange deathly aura. He paused on a towering stone stage deep within the square. There was an exceptionally bright light cluster at that spot. An aura that caused Xiao Yang's entire body to tremble quietly spread from that spot. Xiao Yang's body was just like an arrow that left its bow as his feet pressed gently onto the ground. It rushed over the square in a lightning-like fashion. After a couple of breaths, it had appeared on a flat platform. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked at the interior of the light cluster. An old man with large chains lingering over his limbs was seated there. Xiao Yang's eyes became red. His knees were bent before he heavily knelt onto the stone stage. His voice contained a hoarseness that caused one to grieve. "Teacher, this disciple is here. Part 1 end here.